One of the most well-known verses of Scripture is found in the New Testament book of Romans, where the Apostle Paul writes, "And we know that all things work together for good, to those who love God and to those that are the called according to his purpose." After a year like we've gone through, we sure hope that's true. Get your coffee. I was reading this morning in Luke chapter 5, and these 6 words stuck out to me in verse 26. We have seen strange things today. If I wanted to sum up the last year, we have seen strange things would probably be a good summation. I distinctly remember this day 1 year ago. It was a rainy day in San Diego, and we certainly don't get a lot of those. My executive pastor and we went to a San Diego church leaders gathering. And at that point, none of the churches had closed down yet. There was a lot of talk about what was going to be happening in the upcoming weekend. The night before, I took this screenshot on my phone. I saved it because the doctor in the picture is a friend that I've known for more than 20 years. He is the guy who basically made San Diego shut down at the very beginning of all this. He was the one that sounded the alarm before just about anybody did. 2 days later, on March 12th, I took these pictures at a local store, and I took them because I was super surprised when I saw that. And then the same afternoon, I took another picture. Here's my friend, the doctor, again, doing a news conference. And then I snapped this screenshot on Friday the 13th of all days. We have seen strange things. Sunday, March 15th, as I drove to the church to preach the last regular Sunday message, I snapped this while I was driving on the freeway. By the way, I know you shouldn't take pictures while you are driving, especially not on the freeway. The following day, Monday, March 16th, I woke up to this. And we all saw all these things happening in real time. And as I was looking through these pictures on my phone last night, it felt almost surreal. Now, I know that for some, looking back on the last year, you have feelings of frustration. The headline, complete shutdown on the table. The crisis could last 2 months. Those headlines might be frustrating. 1, because it's been way more than 2 months. And 2, because looking back, you could be forgiven for being upset that it probably didn't need to shut down in the way that it has for the last year. But I want to propose a different emotion. In looking back at all of these things, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that it wasn't as bad as we thought it could be. I'm sure you remember, I certainly remember hearing fears of a 2 to 3% mortality rate. Thank God that it didn't affect children as bad as it affected the elderly. That's not to say that the elderly are of less value. They're not. But can you imagine if this virus had affected children severely? The shutdown that we have endured would have looked like a walk in the park if this had affected kids in the same way that it has affected seniors. So we should be grateful that just a year later, we are looking at life easing toward normalcy, hopefully. That is our prayer. And I certainly never expected that I would preach week in and week out to my church through a camera for a year. I definitely didn't think that we would be effectively homeschooling our kids 12 months after they began distance learning. We have 4 kids, elementary age kids. We were having dinner with our 4 kids last night, and our kids were sharing with my wife and me how grateful they are that they've been able to be homeschooled. They've really enjoyed it, and really we've enjoyed it as well, as challenging as it has been. We never planned for it. And they were saying that when they are old, they'll be able to tell their grandkids that they lived through this huge historic event. My kids are often able to see the bright side of the things that I complain about. The last year is not what I would have planned. In fact, this last Sunday, 1 year ago, I shared with the church that I pastor our plans as a leadership team to add a fourth service to our church services on Sunday morning, because the 3 services that we had, they were beginning to be overcrowded and not enough room for the people that were coming. This last year has certainly not been as I planned. It wasn't what we expected, but I have learned that as strange as things may be, by God's grace, we get through. Something to think about. We'll see you next time.